On today's episode of the CLS Experience, we have a very exclusive treat. He's an NFL legend and former quarterback who played 14 seasons, mainly with the New England Patriots. Selected first overall in the 1993 NFL Draft after a stellar college career at Washington State University, he quickly became the face of the Patriots' big facts. He was named to 3 Pro Bowls and became the youngest quarterback to play in the NFL's Pro Bowl game in 1995. Despite a near-fatal injury in 2001 that led to Tom Brady taking over as the starter, he played a crucial role in helping the Patriots win the 2001 AFC Championship, setting the stage for their first Super Bowl victory. He also had successful stints with the Buffalo Bills and Dallas Cowboys, earning a 4th Pro Bowl appearance. Today, he's recognized for significant contributions to the Patriots, earning a place in their Hall of Fame, and he's an extremely accomplished entrepreneur where he's elevating the very competitive wine business, no big deal. He's just a juggernaut in all facets of life and a terrific husband and father. Please welcome the resilient, trailblazing, dynamic, and handsome, the multifaceted Drew Bledsoe. How you doing, Drew?
I'm great, Craig. Hey, man, can you go on the road with me, man? That's a great intro. You can be my hype man whenever we go to sell wine. You can just be my hype guy that comes out in intros. That's a great intro, man. I really appreciate it.
My pleasure, brother. I put a lot of effort into those, and I received that. Thank you. I'd love to be your hype man. Like I always like to say to a lot of mutual friends, it's your story. You did it. I just said it with the New York accent.
Yeah, there you go. I love it. I love it.
Yeah.
I love it.
We were having an awesome conversation before we hit record, and both of us know we're thinking too about reinvention. I imagine all our listeners are familiar. My best suggestion: do a deep dive, play catch up, check out all the cool stuff he's got going on. What I think is most valuable is we just dive in and have an unbelievable conversation. Before we get started, I'm going to give you a little icebreaker. You ready for me?
Let's go.
What does it mean to you, Drew, to live an authentic life?
To live an authentic life. Yeah, it's a great question. And I think what it means to me is an absence of confusion. I feel like I've lived a pretty authentic life, and I never have to wake up in the morning and try to figure out who I'm going to be today. I never have to, if we go out and I travel a lot to sell wine, and I do some public speaking and so on. And to be honest with you, getting up and talking in front of people does not make me nervous in the least, because I never have to make it up. I'm never trying to live up to a script that's not just me. I guess when you talk about being authentic, that's what it would mean to me, is I never have to try to make it up. I'm just me.
Yeah. Probably the most beautiful answer I've ever heard. And I can relate because I spent a long time being inauthentic, as you and I were chatting about, and kind of a gladiator in the wrong arena on Wall Street and so forth. And when I started really just showing up as myself, number one, it's so light, freeing, it's liberating. And ironically, that's when you give the universe or the world an opportunity to really see the real you, which is such a better quality of life.
It was really interesting, Craig. I have some great business mentors. There's some very successful guys that have just been open books to me over time. And I was with my sons who are just breaking into the work world, sitting with 4 of these guys that have been very successful. I was like, all right, this is a great opportunity for my kids. Will you guys give my boys some advice as they're breaking into the work world? And they had some great pieces, but the piece that stuck with me the most was one guy who's owned pieces or majority shares of many companies. And he goes, boys, it's real simple. All of life is sales. It's all about sales. You're always selling, no matter what, whether you're trying to pick up a girl, whether you're trying to get a job, whether you're trying to actually sell a product, it's all sales. And he goes, the movie that we make our sales team watch when they're getting ready to go out into the world, we make them watch Tommy Boy. He goes, I think it's the best sales movie of all time, because you watch, Tommy Boy, and he's out there and he's trying to say what his dad used to say and just falling flat on his face. And then the minute he flips and just says, this is who I am, I'm totally screwed up, I'm ruining everything, I'm smashing all this stuff, boom, he starts getting sales. It was just really interesting to hear him say, this guy that's been successful time and time again, that really all you got to do to be successful in the world is put yourself out there in the real way, let people get to know you, all your faults and your great qualities, you put that out there in the real world and let people know who you actually are. Next thing you know, you're going to relate to everybody because, look, none of us is anywhere even close to perfect. And the minute that you are vulnerable enough to say, hey, this is who I really am, man, people can relate to you.
What an awesome answer, brother. I could not agree more. And so many life lessons there too. And you know what? Spoiler, not everyone is going to love the real you, but that's okay, right? As long as you stand for something, and life will act as a true, authentic filter, and the right people will gravitate towards you.
100%. We talk, and I know we'll talk some wine later, but one of the things that's allowed us to be successful in the wine business is that when it comes to what we actually produce, what goes into the bottle, our audience is very, very simple and very specific. It's us. We're making wine that I like, that my wife likes, that our winemaker likes, that our team likes. And then we put that out to the world, and it doesn't fit everybody's profile. A lot of people like different styles of wine than what we make. But because we're able to stand true to that, and we never chase trends or chase whatever the hot new thing is, the customers that do like us, they come back year after year, and they know that they can trust us.
Yeah, amen. And I can't wait to dive into all that. I want to talk about the wine, the entrepreneurship, the culture, a little bit of your career too. But we'll just kick it off with this. One of the funniest, coolest things I've ever watched in my entire life was the Tom Brady roast. I personally loved your involvement in it. As it turns out, there's a lot of controversy and so forth. I hear the discussion, should you guys have done it, whatever the case may be. Just curious, was that fun doing? Was it fun making it?
Oh, it was really fun, man. I will tell you though, man, it's a little bit of a high wire act. I just said earlier, I'm pretty comfortable speaking in public, but that was my first time doing live comedy. And you talk about jumping in the deep end, like, all right, you're going to go do live comedy. You're going to have 25,000 people live and in person, and then you're live on Netflix, dude. So, I was prepared for it. But man, you're out there, you're just jumping in the deep end right away and going. But man, it was really fun. It was really fun. And the funny thing was, I'd run through all the people that were the most nervous about it were my family, my kids, my wife. They're like, oh, dude, dad's going to embarrass us. Cause I sit around and tell dad jokes and they think I'm stupid but so they made me run through all my material with them before.
Good.
My wife did veto one joke, which it was bad enough I probably wasn't going to tell it anyway. But then she helped with some stuff. The kids helped with some stuff. So I was prepared, but yeah, still it was nerve wracking. I was glad they let me go early. So then I could sit back and drink some wine and enjoy the rest of the night.
I thought you were awesome about that. And I imagine the whole thing was so cool, so fun, but yet also a little awkward. I mean, just crazy concept. One of the things that you said.
I mean, and I know that, Tom has said, publicly that he wouldn't do it again because of the effect on his kids, which, I think he kind of had to say that as an apology, not only to his kids, but to Giselle. Like, I know that they're not together anymore, but man, she took the brunt of a lot of stuff.
Amen.
But, you're going into that, if you're Tom Brady, we're not going to make fun of his career. So, I mean, you got to go personal. It's not like you can go, oh yeah, remember that one time playing the Super Bowl? Yeah, that must have sucked. So it had to be super personal. But I was, going in, I was like, man, I'm going to kind of get after him a little bit. And it turns out my stuff was just PG, maybe PG-13, but man, some of the other dudes went after him hard. And then Nikki Glaser just killed. God, she was funny. Ironic thing is that she's the nicest human. We were at the after party together. She is so incredibly kind. Introduces me to her boyfriend who she told that awful joke about.
Yeah.
I'm like, dude, you okay, man? He goes, yeah, no, I'm totally cool with this. I actually kind of helped with that joke. I'm like, okay, man. Whew, dude, she came after you hard.
Yeah, she was fantastic. But one of the things that you said that I loved was there's two things that I'll have that you never will, Tom. A number one choice, and I think you said 28-year marriage or however many years it was.
Yeah, 28th anniversary. And it was true. It was ironic because my anniversary was the day before the roast. Yeah. So yeah, it was cool.
So I'm just curious. So obviously the comedians write their own stuff, but for all you guys actually wrote your own material?
The writers helped us. We had I think 2 different meetings with the writers and then sent back and forth a lot of emails. So I gave them a lot of the material that I already had. And then they kind of would polish it up. And I think most importantly, help put things in the right sequence.
Yeah.
So that things and then, you know, we went back and forth a bit, and they sent me some stuff that they sent me a couple things I just didn't think fit for me. And quite honestly, some stuff that I didn't think were particularly, some stuff that I just didn't think was that funny coming from me. The funny thing was, though, a couple of the jokes I turned down, they gave to Tom, which was pretty funny. But it was, you know, I would say it was probably 2/3 my own stuff. The thing I really did appreciate for those that watched it, I didn't know if it was appropriate to like promote our wine, you know, on the deal. And the writers were actually the ones that sent back the wine stuff, the wine jokes. And then my wife added on the last piece about Tom, you know, not getting touched. So she doesn't like the fact that I outed her and said that she helped write that joke. For those that didn't watch it, the joke was that my favorite wine is Cabernet. Tom's favorite wine is Where's the Flag? And I said, obviously he got really used to not being touched, just like the end of his marriage. And the just like his end of his marriage piece, that was my wife's bit. So which was a replacement for a really, really awful joke that I had thrown in there that I will never tell publicly.
Fair enough. That's awesome. Great stuff all around. Just I don't typically like stand-up comedy. I couldn't shut that thing off. Even my fiance, she doesn't even like know so much about football. She was hooked. She loved you, and also she liked Belichick.
Yeah, it was good. I was happy for Bill on a personal level. That he decided to do it, because I think he was kind of on the fence as to whether he was going to be there or not. And I thought it was for him. I thought it was a good moment for him. You know, look, he's still the same guy. He's dry as could be and all that stuff, but he does have a sense of humor. And if you get him outside of a football setting, he's a pretty interesting, engaging dude. But not very many people will ever get to see that. And so I was happy for him.
Yeah, same. And also I watched that documentary that they did on you guys on the Patriots, which I thought was extremely well done. I loved it, but it didn't put him in the best light.
Yeah, I think that I didn't watch the whole thing. I watched a few episodes, but in hearing, you know, after the fact, I know that a lot of the players that were interviewed, you know, weren't very happy with how that was portrayed, because they felt like, you know, and this is what you do. You're trying to make a sensational, you know, thing that somebody's going to watch. But I think some of the players felt like their comments were cherry picked to make Bill not look great. Because I think they all universally, you know, if they don't love him, they at least very much respect him. So I think some of the guys were disappointed with how that was played.
Yeah. Okay. Understood. I was looking at your career. First of all, it's awesome. So many things I want to touch upon, but I really want to talk about the stuff that you're up to now. But is it true when you first started playing, you didn't really play football growing up, more of like a swimmer and so forth?
Yeah, I played everything growing up. I think my 6th grade year, I was in 7 different sports. I was a swimmer, played soccer. Football was not available. I would have played football, trust me. Basketball, I was a wrestler. I played baseball, and turned out for track. So I guess that's 6. And then the whole time I've been a skier since I was a little kid. So I've skied the entire way through. So just involved in a little bit of everything. I always knew that I mean, football was my favorite. My dad was a football coach growing up, so football was my favorite. But it just wasn't an option in our little town. There wasn't even flag football available until 7th grade, which is why I had to play soccer. I wasn't great at soccer. Yeah, no, I was involved in a little bit of everything. And I you know, just soapbox just for 1 second. Man, I really, really don't like this kind of this era of specialization for young kids. Like, look, man, when you're a kid, man, you're supposed to play sports. It's supposed to be fun, you know, and, you know, if you're talking about a kid's development, whether it's athletically or socially or whatever it is, you can be involved in a lot of different things, and not just sports either, you know, drama, debate, you know, play an instrument. That's my one regret, man. I love music, but I don't know. I might be a virtuoso. I've just never even picked up a guitar.
Hey, Drew, it's never too late.
I know. That should have been honestly, that should have been, we talked about your transition and we went through COVID. That should have been my COVID project. I should have learned to play the damn guitar while I was sitting around. Yeah, no, I was involved in everything. And I really think that that's the right way for kids to grow up, honestly. You know, the idea that, you know, little Jimmy is going to someday, make the big leagues. First of all, it's a lottery ticket if that ever happens. And secondly, if you look at most of the premier athletes at the highest level, most all of them played multiple sports, and even if you're talking about just sports development, it's better for you as an athlete to try different things. It makes you more well-rounded. So anyway, that's my soapbox. That's my soapbox issue for the day.
No, I love it.
Get off the specialization thing for these kids, man.
But
let them play.
You definitely know better than I would, but there's so many life lessons that you can extract from sports.
Dude, amen. It's funny. People have asked me over the years, all right, so you left football and went into something totally different. And first of all, I always point out that I left something super competitive and I went into the most competitive industry in the world by the number of products. It's the most competitive industry in the world. There's 50,000 bottles of wine made worldwide every year. But our team, and I know we're going to talk about the culture we built here in a bit, but with our team, I am always talking about lessons that I learned from sports and how they translate to business and how they translate to life. I learned more in terms of day-to-day application. I learned more from the sports I was involved in than I ever did in the classroom. And by the way, our family totally values education. My parents were both teachers, so I'm in no way is that saying that your formal education is not important. But in terms of things I apply on a daily basis and things that we do within our company, you can draw direct comparisons across the board to sports. And I'm always quick to point out, by the way, that it's not just sports. It's anytime you're part of a team that is working collectively toward a common goal, whether that's drama, whether that's music, whether that's in the band. Anytime you're a part of something that's bigger than yourself and you learn what self-sacrifice, hard work, culture, adversity, you learn all of those lessons and how to function as part of a team. Those lessons transcend everything.
I couldn't agree more. And I've heard you say, as a quarterback, can't have much success if your line isn't protecting you. And in the wine business, without the unbelievable team that you've been fortunate to surround yourself with, you wouldn't be nearly as successful as you currently are.
100%. And I'm always quick to point out, I get to go travel and sell wine. I get to do all the fun stuff. I'm actually in our business. I'm at the top and the bottom of our organizational chart. Board of directors. My wife and I are essentially the board of directors, and then traveling salesperson. But when I get to go out and travel, I get to kind of flex my muscles a little bit and talk about how great these products are. But just like playing quarterback, I'm taking credit for all the people that are doing the real work. And in ball as a quarterback, I was not exactly Lamar Jackson. I'm not going to go out there and create on my own. I needed guys in front of me that were doing their job. I needed guys downfield that were working with precision. So I knew where they were going to be. And if they did all of that stuff, then I could do my part very well. And so I was heavily reliant on those guys back in the days, just like I am now on our team.
Yeah, so good. And I know we're a little over the map, but this is the most authentic conversation. I want to get back to football in a second. But in regards to culture, I imagine you've taken a lot of that from your NFL teams and so forth. How important is that for you today with the wine business and the teams that you have?
It's everything. Craig, and we've been very, very intentional, particularly over the last 5 or 6 years at number one, defining what we want our culture to be. And number two, communicating and talking about what our culture is on a weekly basis with our leadership team, then on a monthly basis with the entire team. And it really is everything. If somebody was showing up at our winery or at one of our wine bars and they were only there to collect a paycheck, man, we would be ordinary in a hurry. Our entire team from top to bottom, from bottom to top, has buy-in on what we're trying to create and what we're trying to accomplish in the world as a business. And when you have that culture and you have a championship level team, it's so damn inspiring to be around. You know, you're there and you got, you know, we've got young kids that work for us now. It's kind of funny to have, we've got two young dudes that aren't even old enough to consume wine legally yet on our team. But the time that they put in, the attention that they give to our business is not something that I could pay them for. You know, we take good care of our people financially, but if I, you know, I always point out, you know, to most of our team, they're on salary, and I'm glad, because if I had to pay them hourly, I couldn't afford them. They put in so damn much time, and they do it because they want to, and they believe in what we're trying to accomplish.
It really is the best when you have that type of environment. Kudos to you for cultivating it. It's just everybody's elevating each other, no egos. It's the team first. It makes anything that you're really doing so much more fun, and to use the word that you said, inspiring.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, it's funny. I do get emotional. It's funny. I blame my dad. My dad's a big old rough, tough cowboy. You know, grew up on a cattle ranch and played offensive tackle for the Washington Huskies back in the day. He's a big old tough guy, but he cries at the drop of a hat. So I blame my dad. But you know, we just had our big annual party a week ago. We hosted like 550 people at the winery, and afterwards we have a little team party, and Josh, who's our CEO and winemaker, got up and said some words, and I got up to just talk about our team. Next thing you know, I'm crying. And the reason that it was is because, you know, to own a company where the people that work for you on a daily basis inspire you is just a magical thing, and it's something that I'm so eternally grateful for. We're at a sweet spot right now where we're just firing on all cylinders, and hopefully we can maintain that for as long as the business exists.
Yeah, hell yeah. And it's funny because I was never mushy my whole life. I was a tough guy. And then when I started being so much more authentic, and I think I met my fiance, I became a mushball too. I cried out too. And I actually
know, right?
I embrace it.
By the way, just as a warning, Craig, it doesn't get better when you get older. It gets worse. You know, you know, we just had Father's Day, and my daughter wrote me this sweet card. Next thing you know, I'm sitting at the table trying to eat some banana cream pie, and I'm crying all over my spoon. But yeah, it does not get better, dude. It gets worse. You're going to cry more and more. But embrace it. I get embarrassed. My wife always reminds me, don't get embarrassed. It just lets people know that you mean it. I'm like, okay, that's good. But I'm just not a good crier. I'm not a good crier, though. My voice breaks, and that's the part that bugs me. If it was just tears, cool. Yeah. But you know, when I do that, all of a sudden my voice gets high.
It takes a real man to cry.
Yeah, there you go. Right. Yeah, my daughter did tell me once we were at a concert, and she looked over and had some tears at the concert, and she goes, "Are you crying?" She goes, "Good. That's the only thing that saves you from toxic masculinity is that you cry all the time." Like, good. Saving me.
I love it. Yeah. Just curious off the cuff, with this success and how many people viewed the Netflix series, the show, and so forth, because you were able to talk about the wine. You guys are already crushing it, but did that elevate sales at all?
It did. We got a lot of signups on the list, you know, there's some of the top end wines that we don't even have available right now because they're sold out. But yeah, I don't know the exact number, but there were a lot of people that they created some curiosity. The only thing that pissed me off at the roast, they wouldn't let me bring my own wine into the forum, so I had to drink whatever shit California wine they were pouring at the forum. But it was okay. I still managed to drink quite a bit of it. Yeah, I was kind of somehow Kevin. I think Kevin he snuck his own tequila in there and had it under the table, but he definitely wasn't able to show it. So I guess that's how he skirted the rule.
It's awesome. Circling back for a second, when you were coming up, correct me if I'm wrong, but your mom was very involved with the recruiting.
Yeah, you know, going through the recruiting process out of high school, you know, first of all, it was you know, it was very different back in the day. You know, this is pre-internet. You know, so we actually would go down. We would actually take VHS tapes and dub VHS tapes to put together a highlight reel and put a tape in the mail. You know, schools. You know, and my parents, they were always very good about allowing me to make my own decisions, especially when it came to some of these big ones. But they were definitely guiding forces in that. But the interesting thing, you know, with my mom, as I think it is for you know, for most kids that are blessed to have moms that are around and present in their lives, your mom's always going to be a huge influence. And my mom was a huge influence without ever actually expressing her opinion. But you can watch your mom and you can tell what she's thinking. And so as we were going through that recruiting process, it was very easy for me to tell that there was one coach that she particularly fell in love with, and that was Mike Price of Washington State. He became part of our family pretty quickly, and actually still is to this day. A guy that I spend a lot of time with. So mom was heavily involved. Obviously, dad, is football coach, and he had his opinions as well. But at the end of the day, who are you going to trust more in the world than your mom? There's nobody ever will have such pure, unbiased, opinion on what's simply best for you, right? Yes. It's not about what's best for her, what's best for she's only going to care about you. And so certainly trusted her opinion on that.
Yeah, 100%. Beautifully said, mother. And so you're doing your thing, and then Mel Kiper starts talking about you potentially being the #1 overall pick. Is that right?
Yeah. It was actually the end of my freshman year. I started halfway through my freshman year, and I think it was after that season that he predicted I would be the #1 draft pick in 2 years, which was very cool, but also, became the only question that I answered for the next couple of years, is whether I was going to come out early. Then we had some success my junior year, and made the difficult decision to jump to the NFL early. And it was truly a difficult decision. But for very personal reasons. I think I was wise enough at that point to recognize what a magical time college was. You really don't have responsibilities other than getting to class, doing your work, and going to practice, and and finding a party in the off season. And I did know that once I made that jump, that then you were going to get into the business side of it a little bit. Things were going to get a little more serious. There are going to be a lot more moving parts. But ultimately made that decision. It was the right decision at the time, and got to realize my childhood dream, man. I got to be an NFL quarterback for 14 years, dude. And that was a truly magical existence. It truly was. And I remind people, even when it was hard, it was awesome. Even when things didn't go your way, it was awesome, because you got to try to fight through difficult things with millions of people watching. And I embraced that challenge, and I loved every minute of it. I really, truly did. Matter of fact, toward the end of my career, I was with the Cowboys. I knew I was getting closer to the end. Didn't know exactly when, but I would always, as we were walking down the tunnel for a game, I would always find some rookie, and I'd grab him by the back of the pads and like, dude, how cool is this? We get to do this, and they're friggin' paying us. And they would always kind of look at me like, okay, Mr. Bledsoe, whatever, you weirdo. But man, I just embraced that opportunity. It was extremely cool. Such a blessing to do it. And honestly, when I look back on it now, maybe the biggest blessing of the whole thing were the friends that I was able to make in the NFL from such incredibly diverse backgrounds. You think I'm a small town kid from the wheat fields in the middle of nowhere, leading a team. We got guys from, inner city Miami. You got guys from the Midwest. You got guys from the Northeast. You got surfer boys from California. Grew up with just amazingly diverse backgrounds, and we became great friends and had to work together toward a common goal. And I point out to people frequently, and I think, we talked earlier about there's so many lessons from sports that you take to your life, but I think there's important lessons from sports that you should take into society, because when you look at what we were as a football team, we're very different people. And it was never about all of us trying to be the same. It was never about, hey, we got to be the same. It was about, dude, you grew up way different than I did. Let me learn from you. Tell me what that was like, and they would do the same with me. And then we'd laugh and joke about it. I mean, laughter was making fun of each other was that's the love language of the locker room. That's why the roast was pretty easy. That's just what we do. No, I just think there's some societal lessons there that, like, look, it's not about all of us being the same. It's about recognizing and respecting our differences and then learning from each other. You know, it's not like, hey, Craig, you got to believe what I believe. No, it's not that. It's like, hey, Craig, tell me about you. Tell me about you growing up. What do you believe? Why do you believe that? Oh, shit, I've never thought about that perspective. And then you respect it, you learn from it, you disagree, you agree, whatever it is. But there's always that respect for people that have different life experiences than you do. And I think there's an important lesson there for society.
I agree. You're such a good dude, brother. I love this. And yeah, one thing that you did so well was you, maybe towards the end of your career, but I think in the beginning too, you were so present and mindful. Like a lot of people get caught up in endorsements or whatever the case may be, but you took the time, let that rookie know how cool is this. And even in the beginning, when you were a rookie, I remember you got into the league, you were saying that a lot of the idols that you grew up watching were playing when you got in. You took them on, like, how cool is this, right?
Dude, that was a trip, dude. It was like you know, it's like all of a sudden you're on this playing field with superheroes, you know, like Dan Marino, John Elway, Jim Kelly. I had these guys' posters on my wall growing up. They were drafted when I was 11. So just as I was really kind of getting into it, and then I'm playing against these guys, dude. And it was crazy cool. You know, getting to hang out with those guys, and they were very kind. They treated some of us young guys as peers, even though we weren't. But yeah, it was a little mind bending at the start. You know, being out there on the field with these guys that I'd idolized my entire life.
And then also where you played at school was a relatively small market compared to Boston, I imagine. That might have been a big culture shift, now culture shock.
Dude, I didn't know what I was going to do, man. I came from little Pullman, Washington. We basically had one newspaper, the Spokesman Review from Spokane. And then I went into arguably the toughest sports market in the country, in Boston. All of a sudden you got 4 newspapers. You know, there's a tendency, you know, in Boston sports to kind of eat their own. You know, these sports writers are not looking to be kind to you. And you know, also learned, you know, when you grow up in the West, you know, watching sports is something you do. You know, you watch NFL games on Sunday, watch a college game on Saturday, and you just kind of go on with your life. Man, I got to Boston, I'm like, holy shit, this is a religion. You know, like these people are into this, and I don't want anybody to ever take this the wrong way, but I feel like sometimes those people took the wins and losses to heart even more than we did as players. You know, because we went back to work and tried to win the next game, and the fans, man, would live this stuff day in and day out. So it was a major culture shock. I did have one time, and it was my late in my rookie year. We were playing the Steelers, and I threw 5 picks, threw 5 interceptions. We still almost won the game, and I still stand pat that if there had been instant replay at that time, we would have won the game, because I think I put the ball across the goal line. But that's my perspective, and I'll stick to it. But I threw 5 picks. Really didn't play very well. So I went on purpose and picked up the paper the next morning, the Boston Herald. I was like, oh, I want to see how bad this can get. And the first line was, Drew Bledsoe played the worst game ever played by a quarterback in the history of the New England Patriots. I was like, well, oh, all right, well, shit, I guess I can only go up from there. So
right.
You know, let's go on. But it was sort of like, you know, you wanted to see and have that perspective, like, all right, how bad can this get? And I found out. But then, you know, those early teams that I was on, you know, you don't realize it when you're in the middle of it, because you're just, you know, just doing your work. But we changed the culture. You know, we changed the culture in New England. The Patriots had been the doormat, you know, forever and ever. And you know, we took the Patriots from being basically irrelevant to being very relevant and a contender, and then obviously from there on went on to become the greatest modern sports dynasty, you know, for 20 something years. But that cultural shift from being bad to being relevant, that happened when we were there, and it's something that you know, my teammates from that time It's something that we take a lot of pride in. Now they picked up from where we left it and took it to an even higher place. But to go from bad to good, that requires something special.
Yeah, amen. How shitty of a backup quarterback was Brady?
Worst of all time. He was the worst backup quarterback of all time. He didn't understand when you're the backup, you're supposed to be able to sit the hell down, dude. Full respect to Tommy and I. We've always had a great and very respectful relationship, and
it's obvious. It comes through. I'd love to see that.
Yeah, and the truth is, man, if he was an asshole,
yeah,
it would have been much harder to swallow. But the guy is he's a great person. He's a great teammate. He's obviously had a lot of great luck in his career, and he would acknowledge that as well. But at the same time, everything that he's gotten, he's worked his ass off for, and just have a ton of respect for not only what he's done but how he's done it. Because of that, we have great mutual respect.
Okay. One of the many things that I admire about you is your mindset. Take us back to the injury. It's 2001, your eighth year.
2001.
Belichick just came aboard like maybe a year or two before, right?
That was Belichick's second year.
Okay.
It was his second year.
Playing the Jets.
We had not been very good. Got hurt. We were down in the game. I was scrambling. It was late in the game. It was third down. Knew the first down marker was right there, so I couldn't just run out of bounds and punt. So I turned back in, and when I did, Mo Lewis, it was like a car crash. I did get up and go back in that game. It's probably, people ask me, what are you most proud of in your career? And I'm most proud of the fact that they never had to come get me. They never came and got me off the field. I always went back in the game. Now they ended up pulling me out of the game because I also had a pretty bad concussion. I couldn't remember my plays. After the game, ended up all of a sudden things started to really hurt and things started to get complicated. Next thing you know, I'm in an ambulance up there. I was in the hospital for 5 days.
You passed out on your way in the ambulance?
Oh yeah. My brother was in there with me. He thought I died. Then I woke up, then you come back from something like that. People ask all the time, did that change your perspective on things? And to be honest with you, it really didn't. There's, if you're going to be an athlete at that level, you always believe you're 10 foot tall and bulletproof. You never think about bad things happening. In retrospect, it probably maybe should have changed my perspective. But it didn't change the way I played. Didn't really change anything other than the fact that I was wearing a different uniform the next year because that young punk shitty backup quarterback kid didn't go sit the hell back down. So, but it was a great ride. I got to go play 3 years in Buffalo and loved that. Everybody thinks Buffalo sucks, and then you get there and like it's kind of awesome. A lot of those fans, and then got to be a Dallas Cowboy for a little bit, which is like pitching for the Yankees. People either love you or hate you, but they always have a feeling about you. So it was a cool ride. Wouldn't go back and change it. You can go back and nitpick plays here and there, but ultimately at the end of it, it was a hell of a ride, man. It was really cool.
That's not your style to nitpick, and you had a fantastic career, and you're having another fantastic career. But at least Brady was nice enough to sprain his ankle in that championship game, which they did a really good job of showcasing in the documentary when you came in and just lit it up. But I heard you make an analogy. It was like giving a starving person a snack, right?
It was, man. First of all, it was the only time I really hadn't played since I was a sophomore in high school. And I was not a good backup quarterback. I would get my work done.
Well, you had no experience. You never were backup.
I know, man. I don't know. I'd get bored, like, man, if there's not that reward at the end of the week where I get to go play this game, I know that I wasn't as focused as I could have been. But going into that Steelers game, I remember telling Damon Heward, who was the other quarterback on the team, he looked at me, he was, dude, you ready? I'm like, yeah, I'm ready. I kind of feel like I'm going to play in this game. And that was not wishing any ill will toward Tom, but I just felt like, I think I'm going to play in this game, and I'm ready. It's a simple game plan. I understand it. The cool thing from that game, my dad surprised me. I didn't even know he was going to be in town. He called me on Saturday after we landed and said, "Hey kid, I'm here. You want to come by and say hi?" So I went over and saw Dad, and then he found his way down onto the field on the celebration. And I always, whenever I finished a game, if I knelt down with the ball, I would always keep that football. The referee would come and try and grab it, like, no, this one's mine. And so I kept that one. And I saw Dad out in the crowd, and he also played tight end and semi-pro, so he had pretty good hands. So I saw Dad, and I fired the ball at him. He caught it, and like a true tight end, 5 points of contact, tucked it away. And that football still sits on my dad's bedside table. So it was pretty cool that I happened to show up for that one.
Yeah, cool story. That's crazy. And I imagine when you started to get healthy and you got cleared, obviously then Brady wasn't what he is today or the GOAT or anything like that. And you were, for the first time in your life, probably not the guy, but you have to do the thing. Like what's going through your head mentally with that?
It was hard, man. You know, when I first found out, I had all the normal thoughts that you could imagine. You know, screw these guys. You know, I've been the guy here for, you know, this is my 9th season. Just signed a big contract. These guys don't get to kick me around like this. You know, so I'll just retire now. You know, but fairly quickly, just in the matter of about 24 hours, you know, kind of came around to, you know, look, you signed up to be part of a team. The team's bigger than you. Show up, kick ass on scout team, be ready to rock and roll and support Tom. And I did. And I know that he, even though, you know, that part of the relationship was not that easy. You know, somebody replaces you. You don't want to come in and give him a hug every day. But at the same time, I still, you know, was an open book in terms of, you know, advising him and giving him information. And he wasn't the Tom Brady that he became at that time. You know, there was a team that was built on defense and running the football. Tom did his part well and never hurt the team. But he was certainly not the guy that was carrying the load at that time. Yeah. Which was different because when I was playing, I was always the guy that was carrying the load. But you know, again, it's that part sucked. But it was a true credit to him that, you know, he was then and still today is always looking to continue to improve.
Yeah, amen. You do such a phenomenal job in life, period. Taking an adversity and turning it into a positive. I imagine that's tough for most people. What's your secret?
You know, we have a mantra at our business now where we embrace adversity. You know, it's not about adapting to adversity, it's embracing adversity. Not to the extent where we're going to try to screw up on purpose, obviously. But we know, and we have proven now time and time again, when we face adversity, we come out the other side as a better company. Obviously, you know, sometimes forcing us to take another look at something and look at it a different way, and come out the other side. And then what happens is once you get through that and then you push forward, well, that forced change that you had to make allows you to continue to rise when things are going good again. And, you know, so, and quite honestly, I've always felt like I functioned best in adverse times. I feel like that's when I can add the most value, whether that's to the team or whether that's to the company. When things are good, both playing quarterback and owning and running a company, my piece of the job's pretty damn easy. You know, look, if these guys are giving me time to throw and I've got a guy open down there, you know, that's pretty easy, you know. But when you know, when the chips are down and you're getting hit and getting knocked around and guys are covered, you're down late in the game, you know, that's when I felt like I could really affect an outcome. And I still feel like that's the same, you know, in our business, you know, when and we're right now, you know, the economy's bumpy. There's some headwinds in alcohol consumption in general and some headwinds in wine. And now is a time where I really feel like as a leader, that's where I really can provide value to our team, you know, in you know, leading in the best possible way that I can. And they, you know, they know that, shoot, man, this as of tonight, this will be the most consecutive nights I've slept in my own bed in probably the last 7 months. Right. Because I've been out traveling, selling, you know, it's hard, but, you know, when you're the face of the business, you got to be the guy that's out there doing it. And I think our team recognizes that, okay, yeah, the boss is willing to get on planes and fly to Iowa and sell wine, you know, again, it's not super heavy lifting. I'm not, you know, laying asphalt, but at the same time, travel and doing the work and supporting them in the way that they support us.
But you set the tone, and the culture is a byproduct of you. So I love that you do that. I imagine growing up in a household with two teachers, there probably wasn't that much wine flowing. You probably got into it in the process and so forth. When did the idea to create a business come about for wine?
Yeah, yeah, you're right. There was not a lot of fine wine floating around the table with two school teachers. Ironically, my dad, the old cowboy, actually has a pretty damn good palate. You know, I'll pour him wine from time to time, and he can actually cold call some wines. And he's pretty picky now too, which I take a certain level of pride in. But we got into the league, and you know, we started ordering wine with dinner because that's what you're supposed to do. You know, we got a couple nickels to rub together, so we better you know, be a little fancier. And then fairly quickly learned that we really liked wine. And my wife and I got into wine, started collecting wines from around the world, made our first trip out to Napa. But really the epiphany for me, you know, we would have guys come over to the house for dinner, and, you know, they would ask what to bring, like, just bring a good bottle of red wine. So they would come over to the house, and for fun, we would take all these different bottles of wine and put them on the counter in paper bags and taste through all of them and just simply pick out which one we liked the best. Well, I would always put something from my hometown into the lineup just out of curiosity. Like, how's my little hometown doing? And every time we did that, we would unveil at the end. We would go from worst to best. And the last bottle to come out was always from my hometown. I was like, holy shit, man, my little hometown is kicking ass on some of these fancy, expensive wine from California, fancy, expensive wines from Bordeaux. You know, maybe after this is over, you know, could go back home and start a business, but start a business with the intent of making, you know, wines that would stand up on a world stage. You know, certainly had some hometown boy advantages, and going back, I was able to hire my next door neighbor, who was a rock star winemaker. Now his protege has taken over for a decade now. We're able to get access to the right land, the right grapes, you know, all of that stuff. Yeah, the very first vintage, the 2007 vintage, when we released that in 2010, we were named top 100 wines in the world by Wine Spectator. So it was really off to a great start. And from there, it's grown into, you know, a business that we really couldn't have envisioned back then. You know, we got 74 employees, 400 acres, producing just under 20,000 bottles, or 20,000 cases of wine annually. So it's a real business.
It is.
And it's been incredibly meaningful to me. And, you know, we talked offline that, you know, I'm really proud of what we produce, and I really like the wine that we produce. But the thing that I take the most pride in, and the thing that makes me feel the best, is the company that we've built, and the people that we've raised within that company.
Yeah.
And we're very intentional about that. And we've watched, you know, people that start off, like CJ that works for us, started off, he was just kind of helping out. He would drive a van during the, you know, big events, and then he would help move tables and do all this stuff. And then, you know, we allowed him to move into the cellar, and he didn't really have any wine knowledge, but he's picked up the wine knowledge. Now he's our assistant winemaker, and just watching people like CJ, and there are multiple examples of that across our company. You know, watching these people rise, and know that we're, you know, again, wine is the vehicle, but what we're really doing is creating culture and growing people.
Yeah, I love it, and I acknowledge you for that. I know a thing it's about reinvention. Like I said, last thing, and then we'll end with a little fun rapid fire. You've had so much success so far with the wine stuff. Where are you taking this thing?
Yeah, it's a great question, Craig. You know, right now we're really happy, you know, and you know, the company's running well. They're inspiring to be around, and we don't want to screw it up. You know, we're not trying to be the biggest. You know, we don't want to change our business where all of a sudden we got to produce, you know, 200,000 cases of wine and we lose the artistic component of it. So we're growing incrementally over time. And I think we're still getting better, man. Our most recent wines were released, got the highest scores we've ever gotten from the critics. You know, our first 100-point score, you know, just this last year on our 2021 vintage. But I think our best wines are still in front of us.
Yeah.
And the cool piece of that for me is it's an expression of one of the most important tenets of our business, and that's around sustainability. And when we talk about sustainability, it's a big buzzword in the world, as it should be. But there are multiple connotations to that word. The simple one being environmental sustainability. We've been about that from the beginning. Look, if we're going to take something from the land and produce something from the land, we should take care of the land and take care of the environment. To us, that's been the obvious piece from the beginning. But the second piece is more recent. Really starting in 2019, we started to build out people sustainability within our business. And so when you think about agriculture, particularly in northern climates, you're usually talking about seasonal labor. You're talking about seasonal contracted labor, where you hire people, they come in and work for you for 6 or 8 months, and then they have to figure out how they're going to feed their family in the winter months. In 2019, we started our own farming company, and so now we employ these people year round. There are 25 of them now. We pay them better than anybody else in the Northwest, but they also have retirement benefits and they have health benefits. The most important piece of that is that they now have stability in their family lives, right? And so when we did that, both of those initiatives around the environment, around taking care of the people, you look at financial projections and it's like, okay, this is an expensive endeavor to do the right thing. But the cool epiphany for me is that those two things, those two pillars of sustainability, have created this third pillar of sustainability, which is a sustainable business. We want to create something that lives beyond us. By taking care of the land the way that we have, taking care of the people the way that we have, we're continuing year over year to produce a better product that allows us to continue to be a viable business, off into the foreseeable and hopefully unforeseeable future with what we're doing. And so that piece, and so when you ask where are we going, well, that's the path that we're on. We're trying to continue to improve. We're not trying to radically grow production. We grow a little bit year over year, but we continue to strive to get better, every single vintage and really every single day with everything that we're doing. And so that's where we're headed.
Love it. Great answer. So pumped for you. I know that you guys just get warmed up. We'll land the plane. We'll have a little bit of fun. A little rapid fire, maybe 1 or 2 word answers. You ready for me?
Let's go.
Okay. Favorite movie?
Favorite movie? Godfather, Dances with Wolves. If we're going comedy genre, I'm probably going to go Dumb and Dumber.
Wow, they're going to say Tommy Boy. Okay, good. Dancing with Wolves, that's a good one. I don't know if you saw the trailer. Kevin Costner's new movie coming out.
I haven't seen the new one yet. I can't wait to see it.
Yeah, do you watch Yellowstone or no?
Oh yeah. Actually, we're up here in Montana. We're kind of pissed at the movie Yellowstone because now anybody that's got some money wants to have a ranch in Montana. So we got all these people moving in here. They need to go back home.
Okay. Your last meal on Earth would be?
Last meal on Earth. I'm going to go with the Father's Day meal that my wife just made me, which is pot roast, mashed potatoes, and gravy with some cooked carrots, and then maybe a Caesar salad, and obviously, great bottle of Double Back on the table, which is exactly what we did on Sunday for Father's Day. So, I get to live out that dream.
I love it. Awesome. Your favorite guilty pleasure?
Favorite guilty pleasure? Man, there's a few. I don't even know if I want to tell you.
That guilty, huh? Let's hear it.
You know what? I'm kind of a sucker for a good rom-com.
Same.
Sit down with my wife and like a good romantic comedy where the ending already. The guy's going to change and he's going to come back and fall in love with her and all that stuff. But I'm kind of a sucker for the movies. They just, they leave you feeling good. So
you seen any good ones recently?
I'm trying to think what most recent. I think my favorite of all time is probably Hitch.
I was going to say that.
Dude, how great is Hitch, man? That movie is so great.
You just scared the hell out of my dog. But yeah, I promised I was going to say that, but I wanted to see if you were going to say it.
Yeah, I love Hitch.
So good because it's clever, it's not hard, and it's funny.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. All right, 2 more. Favorite workout?
Favorite workout now as opposed to back in the day. I really like getting on my road bike. Up here in Montana, just something, you get on a road bike, you can go far, get some good cardio, and you get to see some scenery.
Love it. Okay. And last one, very, very deep stuff. Your favorite musician?
Of all time, my favorite musician is Prince.
Ooh, good one.
Across the board, one of the greatest artists that's ever lived, made some of the most iconic music of all time. And also my biggest concert regret, because I never got to see Prince live. And I had an opportunity. He was playing in Portland, Oregon at a small little venue. And he played 2 shows. In the early show, he played all this jazzy stuff. The late show, which is the one I would have seen, he played all the hits and just made people's ears bleed. And a year later, he was dead, and I missed it. And I missed it just because I got my schedule wrong. I thought it was on a Friday. It was actually on a Thursday. I was coaching high school football.
Interesting.
And so I airballed it. I could have made it for the Thursday show. But yeah, if I had to pick one of all time, it would be Prince.
Interesting. What a legend. I didn't get really into him until after he passed. And then I watched the movie Purple Rain, and I went down the route. Yeah. Unbelievable.
Oh, dude. Watch some of his guitar. Go watch some of his guitar stuff on YouTube. Like, he's up there with guitar gods, and he's the guy that they all bow down to.
Sounds like.
And then I have to throw a second one in just in case my dad ever listens. Merle Haggard would be the other one. I grew up with 2 kinds of music in the house, country and Western.
Yeah.
So Merle Haggard, I was force-fed my entire life, and I still love Merle Haggard to this day.
Okay. Sounds like you have an itch to scratch with the instrument thing.
Yeah, I love music, dude. I love music. I just got to figure it out. Who knows? Maybe I'm a virtuoso. Maybe next time we talk, I'll play some stuff for you.
Absolutely love it. This was so much fun, brother. For all the stuff that you have going on now with the wine and stuff, where could everyone support? How could they get involved? Where could they grab the wine?
Yeah, no, really easy. You just go to you can go to doubleback.com. That'll take you to our landing page. I encourage people to just sign up for our club. Then you'll get notifications about the wines when they come out. We're making some killer stuff across the board. Cabernet is where we started. We're making some absolutely dynamite Pinot Noir from the Willamette Valley of Oregon. And then we also, on the Bledsoe family winery side, which is our 3rd winery, that's where people want to just kind of dip their toe in the water. The wines are priced within reach of more people. Our Cabernet from Bledsoe Family Winery is $50, and it's just killer stuff. If you want to get an idea what we're doing without having to spend $120 a bottle, you can go there. And then if you want to climb up, obviously we encourage that. But yeah, just type in doubleback.com. We'll take you to our landing page.
Done and done. We'll put all that stuff in the show notes. Drew, hang out for 1 second. I want to connect you after. I want you to know the definition of authenticity, culture, mental toughness, and kindness. Thank you so much for stopping by today and dropping these priceless, juicy nuggets.
Right on, Craig. My pleasure, man. Great to talk to you.
That's amazing. I can speak to you all day. Thank
you. Right on.
Yeah, that was a lot of fun.
Yeah, man. Appreciate you, man.
Yeah, I love the mindset, and I love all the stuff that you got going on now. When I asked you about where you're taking the wine thing, you lit up. So I know that you're going to go there, and it's fun to watch.
Yeah, it is fun, man. It's really fun. It's been a blessed life, man. It's been a blessed life, and I'm grateful every day.
I feel like in many ways you're just getting warmed up.
I hope so. I'm tell people 50 was halftime, so we're gonna try and crush the third and fourth quarters, but we're not stopping. It's